Everybody to the public safety meeting for the city of Hudson today, which is April 27th, 2023. A roll call, please. Wakefield.
Here.
Morset. Here. That's awkward. And Hall.
Here.
Thank you. Number 3, approval of the March 9th regular meeting minutes.
Move to approve. Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion to approve meetings is approved. New business. Right into it. Why don't, in the sake of our guests that are here, we've got a couple issues kind of in the same neighborhood. If the committee will indulge me, I've been asked by the presenter of item F, pedestrian crossing signals, to postpone that until our next meeting next week so she can be here with her son. So if that's all right with everybody, we'll so do that. So then let's go right to the issues on 11th Street. Let me see which item I'm looking at. G. Speed, children playing, signage on 11th Street. And Jeff, let's get a little high-end overview from you about these issues that came to you, I believe.
Well, I don't know who they come. They ultimately get to me, right?
Okay.
So basically, what we'll do when we get a complaint of this nature, similar to 13th Street or 9th Street or Grandview Drive or any other real traffic concern requests that we get, right? We'll put our speed sign out there. We'll have engineering put their traffic counter out there which is a more discreet little black Pelican box that goes up on a light pole. Ours flashes the speed at you, so you know if you're over the limit, it flashes at you, right? It also collects data, how many cars are going past, what the average speed is, what time of day you have the issue, and then you can generate a report on that. So we'll put it out there for about a week generally. We'll try to do both directions, and then we'll formulate the data, we'll generate a report, and then we'll use that data to basically drive our enforcement protocols, right? So we're not going to have someone go sit and run radar out there at 10 o'clock in the morning if nobody's speeding until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So it'll tell us how many violators are in a given hour during the day and what day of the week, so then we can generally tell our staff to go out there and hit enforcement and education in those areas during those times. So that's generally how we handle those. Were you looking for more than that?
No, because I'm going to invite the folks that are
Sure.
living up there. I think Emily, Martin, and Sorensen's are here. So if you guys want to come to the podium and kind of give us, well, first of all, give us your name and your address for the record, please, and then let us have it.
All right. Okay. Hi. Thank you. I'm Emily Martin, and I live at 330 11th Street. And I just want to thank you all for your service to the community, first of all. I just wrote a little spiel. It's very similar to an email that I wrote to you guys as well. But I just have a few things added. So I'll just start. So I have 3 young daughters, ages 8, 5, and 1.5 years. There are many young children living on and around 11th Street, and in fact, on our little strip between Girard and Morrison, which is less than a block, there's 11 young children, and that is just my closer neighbors who I'm very familiar with, but I know there's many more on 11th Street and in the surrounding area. I don't think most people realize there are that many children in the neighborhood, and I don't think that many people realize there's that many little kids living on 11th Street because it's such a main thoroughfare for Hudson. However, I'm pretty sure it's one of the densest in terms of young children because of EP Rock nearby, and it's also one of the most affordable neighborhoods for young middle-class families. So, as you know, cars often speed up 11th Street, and there is a real need for increased signage telling people to slow down, watch for kids, etc., to increase public awareness. The police department has put up a temporary speedometer already, as you were just talking about, so thank you for that, and that actually helps a lot in the interim, it helps people realize, how fast they're going. Seems like people slow down a lot, but as soon as it's gone, the speeding resumes and the issue resumes. So the speeding in combination with the high traffic density, large amounts of children, the school zone, and no sidewalks is a disaster waiting to happen. I've spoke with all my neighbors, not all of them, but the ones I know well, and many of whom have educated their children on traffic safety standards. However, we all have this deep-seated fear or vision that someday our kid's gonna chase a ball into the street, as kids sometimes do, and we all worry one of our kids is gonna get hit by a car. I don't think this fear is absurd. I think it's a very realistic fear. And so this is a list of requests and ideas I've have compiled with neighbors to address this issue. So number one, a permanent speedometer placed on 11th Street going both ways. Number two, more permanent signage indicating school zone and children at play, just to increase public awareness that there are lots of little kids in the area, even flashing lights. Number three, occasional police presence as they are able. I know they are very busy. Number four, some sort of physical barricade between the narrow walking path and roadway now that snow is gone, until sidewalk construction begins. Number five, most ideally permanent speed bumps on 11th Street and the surrounding school zone areas. My old neighborhood had this, and people have no choice but to slow down. It's super awesome. Perhaps it could be included in the plans for when road and sidewalk construction begins in a year. Another added area of concern for neighbors is the intersection at 12th Street and Morrison, which hosts even more children walking to and from EP Rock, and also lacks sidewalks. We are wondering if a stop sign could be added at this intersection. It's currently a four-way yield. The other morning, I was walking my daughters to school and saw a little girl ride her bike and come very close to getting hit by a car because the car was slowly driving through the intersection, and she zipped in front of them. I think a stop sign would have prevented this close call, and it's honestly more fair to the drivers because it forces them to stop and look, gives them more time to see what's coming. And the driver in this case was fortunately paying attention and stopped in time, but we all know that's not always the case. All these ideas cost a lot of money. I had a neighbor throw out an outside of the box idea, maybe just leave the potholes and just let them get worse, like, make people slow down. So if you're really budget, savvy, you could do that. But yeah, with the high density of traffic combined with the high density of kids and no sidewalks available at this moment in time, I believe there is a serious need that they do something about the situation. So I just respectfully ask you guys consider the interventions. That's it. Thank you.
Where's your old neighborhood?
My old neighborhood, it was in Minneapolis.
So,
Yeah.
I'm aware of the speed humps that they've got in Minneapolis.
Yeah, and I heard there's issues with the plows, but I've heard here that's why they've been hesitant, and I don't know if that's true or not, but I've never heard of any issues there. Obviously I wasn't as quite engaged in that city, but they made it work, so.
Yeah, my
figured-
understanding is that so the engineer at the county is really supportive of speed humps, and he doesn't see a problem with them, with the plows, but.
Okay.
That's the county.
But that's the county, yes. And, but if they're properly designed, then there shouldn't be a problem with the plows.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, that would be really awesome, because you can only go so fast over them, or, you learn one time really fast, you can only go so fast, so, no.
Yeah,
Thank you, guys.
Yep,
thank you.
thank you. Anybody else from the neighborhood want to speak to the issue? Feel free. Please state your name and your address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Kylie. I am just a street or two over on 13th Street. Very similar in issues that would like to be addressed. Obviously, not as much population density or traffic density as 11th Street. However, with EP Rock being on 13th, we have noticed that there are many more students walking to and from, even with the sidewalks there, whether it's riding bikes. Just as I was pulling out today, there were 4 children riding their bikes down the road, not on the sidewalk. So 13th Street, I would appreciate if you could consider whatever you may do for 11th to do that for 13th as well.
On 13th Street, what towards the north, where are you at?
I am right across from EP Rock, so 13th Street South.
South, okay.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just trying to think it in my
Oh,
head,
yeah,
so.
So, are you between Morrison and Laurel?
I believe so.
Okay.
Okay. So same kind of issues, we gotta try to slow folks down with something.
Correct. Yes, and the police force did also put a speedometer in there, and very similar, worked for the week in slowing people down. However, since that has been removed, I've noticed a larger amount of people speeding. I get the pleasure from working from home, so I'm able to sit in the living room or on my front steps and watch people as they pass through.
Okay,
What's the address again?
223 13th, straight south.
So that's between Morrison and then not Laurel, it's the other way, so it's, I can't remember
Yes.
what that one.
Yeah, it'd be between Morrison and
with
Laurel.
street names.
We like Morrison is, yeah, we gotta do
Yeah.
that one up.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can't remember the other.
okay.
Not great with street names, but
Yeah, I got it up in mind. Thanks.
Okay, anything else?
no, thank you.
Okay, appreciate it. Anybody else need to? Yes, sir, state your name and, name and address for the record, please.
Paul Malik, I live on 207 South 17th Street. We've been on 17th for about 19 years. The speeding every year has gotten worse. If I recollect right, last year, the boxes were put out to check for speed, and you guys clocked somebody at over 60. It's not getting better. I would hate to have small kids. I'm actually kind of disgusted I have to be up here to complain about this again. 2 years ago, I asked for a speed sign. I was told I would get one. Nothing happened. I want to know what you're going to do about the problem in this town about speeding. Because if you go to North Hudson, everybody goes 25. Why does that happen in Hudson? It's not just certain people's neighborhoods, it's everywhere. I walk in the morning with my dogs, and there are times I almost get hit crossing the sidewalk with two dogs. Nobody looks, nobody cares. And everybody just sits here and listens, and nothing happens. And I want to know when something's going to happen before somebody gets killed. And at that point, what are you going to do? I feel sorry for the police because he's got other headaches to deal with, but this is a big one. I sit in my porch every morning about 5:30, watch the school bus go by, watch the kids go by. I can tell you when the speeding is. It varies every day, but there are people that go down that street before school, trying to get to school on time, that are going 40, 50 miles an hour, I'll guarantee it. And then when somebody goes 25, they get a horn, or they get passed. What are we going to do? I don't want just everybody nodding heads. You have to do something. These people have a legitimate issue. It has not gone away.
Right, thank you, Paul. We hear you. Anybody else have any comments to make? Okay. So, as Joyce touched on, and at our next meeting next week, Thursday, we are going to be talking in depth about a traffic taming package for the city of Hudson, which includes certain items like speed bumps and other flashy lights and flags and such as that. But also, it's going to include stricter enforcement and no more leniency, I guess, is what we've talked about. And we're in the process of really getting that package put together and laying it out next week. There are other issues, not just in your neighborhood, every neighborhood, as Paul said.
Yes.
And Paul, I apologize if there was an oversight that sign never got put up. And we will address that issue specifically at where you'd wanted it. So if you could reach out to police chief at where, then we can address that issue, and then I will follow up with it. Things do get lost in the crack. Not an excuse, it happened.
You know, and I've been working on this policy for absolutely years. And I'm as frustrated as you are, Paul, about not having this policy in hand yet. But next week, we are going to discuss this and get this going. So Sarah Brook just came in. She had talked to me about the maybe one helpful idea would be to see if we could put another police officer in the budget, one who can spend most of their time watching speeds and ticketing as necessary.
Yeah, when we're at full staff during the daytime, so between 11 o'clock in the morning and at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we assign one of our officers. That's all they do is do traffic enforcement. They're not supposed to be taking other calls unless it's a urgent call that requires, 4 or 5 officers to deal with it. But mostly when we're full staff, right? So we have kicked that off here at the beginning of April with the shift change, the shift bids that the officers pick their shifts. So they're out there doing it. But that's all we can dedicate to that. And I'll talk about in my update, we do 1,600 calls for service a day, with 2 to 4 officers working at a time. So, I mean, that's a lot of, they do it, part of those calls for service is 304 traffic stops in that month. But that should kick up a little bit with a dedicated traffic car that's all they're responsible for, so they can pay special attention to these neighborhoods that, quite frankly, oftentimes are just drive-throughs. For us, you could probably get a lot of attention on the night shift, people driving through, but probably not so much, during the day with officers driving through and being visible when you can. There's a lot of schools that we try to give attention to during the school times, and those neighborhoods, probably are the primary, and then we get pulled away to the big box area on the hill there for a crash or a theft or something else. So we're doing the best we can. We understand the concerns, and we're working to try and rectify those issues.
So a little background as well, just for the audience members, is that my last interview on which was done before the election was that I identified that we have a speeding problem in the city of Hudson, and we've heard this for many years now. And yes, Paul, the wheels of government don't work as fast as they should be when it comes to anything, I guess, if you will. But we're addressing the issue. We want to make sure we roll it out right. And I don't want to see the city be signed on every corner. I mean, the signs don't work, and there's statistics that say that. I don't know if these speed bumps will work.
They do.
They may work.
There's data that shows that they do.
There's a side to
Yes.
everything, Joyce.
No, but I don't think we should have speed bumps everywhere in the city.
Right.
I mean, we should be, so the things that work are narrowing the streets. One of the issues that we've got is we've got these streets that are designed for parking on both sides, and then nobody parks on them, so then the street is so wide open that people think that it's okay to go 45, 50 miles an hour down them. And so that's an issue. So bump outs help. If you can extend the curbs at the crossings so that you've got more, or putting an island in the middle helps with narrowing the street. So as streets are reconditioned, we can add those features. If you look at Hanley, for example, we've got islands on there to narrow things down. We've changed things so that there's not as many traffic lanes, and that does help. In fact, one thing that I heard from somebody was that one of the pizza delivery drivers didn't like driving on Hanley because they couldn't drive fast enough. And so those things do make a difference. Just changing the speed limit does not change people's behavior unless there is strong enforcement along there. Right near my house, we've got Chestnut. We've taken the speed limit down to 15. That does not make a difference. But the temporary speed humps that are put in each summer, that does slow people down. But like I said, we cannot put them on every street in the city.
Right, so,
Did you want to come up to the microphone?
Joy,
Well, just.
I can run the meeting, Joyce.
In your mirror.
Sorry,
No, please come.
Okay.
I didn't mean to step on your toes, Randy.
No, I agree, speed bumps can't be throughout the entire city, but a lot of other areas of the city have sidewalks. And so I just want you guys to really seriously consider them in our neighborhood because just again, the dense population of children and no sidewalks, that was an unfortunate oversight in the urban planning back in the day, but it's really becoming a major problem. So I do think that's a neighborhood that it would be very much appropriate, so just saying.
Well, that neighborhood was built before, when the city was a small town. And sidewalks really weren't needed at that time.
And just one other piece of information about this tool. We also, District Council Member 3, I'm sorry, Joy. We are going to be looking as well as a traffic taming policy, kind of what New Richmond has done as well. And that's going to be part of that discussion next week. So that'll be part of the toolbox that you've been trying to get together as well. So we are addressing it, but let's get back to this immediate issue. Are there any thoughts putting stop signs or yield, or what's your pleasure?
So 12th and Morrison just has 4 yield signs.
Is it 4 yield signs on all 4? And what if we did 2?
Well, 2 stop signs.
2 stop signs and start that way.
Okay, I'll make the motion that we send to council a request for 2 stop signs at Morrison. Which should they stop the traffic on Morrison or should they stop the traffic on 12th?
What would make more sense
Kylie?
if somebody would come up to the front?
Okay, so, I think, I'm not a city planner, but, obviously.
Neither are we.
Okay, okay. So I think that at least the stop sign should be going east-west on Morrison, because I think that's where it gets more traffic. 12th Street, the only traffic 12th Street gets are the people who live there, or the occasional person who's trying to avoid 11th Street for whatever reason. But I think 12th for at least, yeah. Morrison east-west is where the stop sign.
So the stop signs should stop the traffic on Morrison Street.
Correct.
And allow 12th Street to flow freely. Okay.
Yeah, because just the yield isn't, like, nobody really knows what to do when they get to that. And even the little kids, when they're trying to learn the rules of traffic, they don't know what they're supposed to do either. And so, yeah, just having a stop sign, this is, I don't know.
Okay, that's my motion then, to put them on Morrison.
Okay. Mike?
Oh, Mike.
Mike Mraz, Director of Public Works, City of Hudson. Before you make that motion, or in your motion, you should probably make a motion to refer to the manual of uniform traffic control devices to make sure that we're not putting up traffic control devices that would be putting the city in danger of future lawsuits. I don't know if stop signs mixed in with yield signs at an intersection are a good idea. But I think we should refer to that manual just to make sure. It would probably be all stop signs or all yield signs. I don't want to.
No, my suggestion, my motion would have been to remove the yield signs then on 12th.
Okay.
But yes, it should be, but add to the motion then to refer to the city engineer to make sure that it's
Just
in
review
line
it.
with the state guidelines.
Yeah, we don't want to get sued if there's an accident that happens or something where a lawyer can point to that manual and say, why did the city of Hudson do that? When the manual says that is not a prohibited use.
Yeah, but I'll err in the caution of safety too, is kind of, me, but. And I don't know if you want to add flags to remind people that we did make a sign change.
Oh, okay, then yes. We can add flags to those.
Thoughts?
You repeat the motion.
The motion is to make the recommendation that the yield signs be removed from the corner of 12th and Morissette. That stop signs be put on Morissette Street at that intersection, on both sides of Morissette. And that,
Morrison.
pardon?
Morrison.
Morrison.
I don't have a street name, that's,
Not yet.
Freudian slip. And that we flag those signs so that people know that things have changed. And that this be sent to the city engineer first to vet the motion.
I will second that.
okay. Any further discussion? Mike, or do you want that in Public Works first? No? Okay, you're good with that? Any further discussion, Chief?
So you still want stop signs at Morrison and 11th and then Morrison at 13th as well, right? Mm-hmm. Okay.
We should add that then to
Are there,
'Cause the way it sounded to me listening to Joyce talk is that you just wanted stop signs at Morrison and 12th.
that is, yes, but now, aren't there stop signs on, so there aren't any stop signs on Morrison stopping traffic going on to 11th?
I don't know firsthand. Are those stop signs
Yeah,
there on
there is.
11th and 13th?
Okay. Okay,
All right.
so,
just 12.
so just 12th at this, yes, that's,
At this point, I
this
mean,
point,
let's
yeah.
monitor what we do, and then we'll have to, if we have to come back to the neighborhood and do something different, then we do that. So,
okay,
and hopefully we'll have some other tools to address the issue as well from next week's meeting, so.
yes. All right, yeah, let's vote on this,
Oh.
and then see if there's something else that we can do at this meeting.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, folks, very much. We'll keep on it, and Paul, we're working hard. We'll get, figure it out,
All right, is there
just for
anything,
safety.
is there anything more that we can do today on this?
Well, increased enforcement
Yeah.
is the big thing,
Okay.
but, you know, that's
Right.
manpower and the like.
Yeah, and I know, I mean, reducing a speed limit doesn't make a difference on this either.
Let's take a look
Yes.
at it.
I have an idea how it was. Sorry.
State your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Troy Kriego. I'm the father of Kylie Kriego on 13th Street, and I've noticed it as well when I've come over to visit her. Just an idea. I know manpower is short. I don't know what you guys have for vehicles, but just an unmanned police presence or a vehicle left on one of the side streets might be just enough of a deterrent to keep people from speeding down there as well. So just an idea.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm Fred Waltz, and I live at 310 11th Street South, on the corner of 11th Street and Morrison. And I appreciate everything everyone's done so far. I've noticed over the years that as Hudson has grown, we have a big influx of Minnesota license plates. And not picking on my new neighbors or anything, but I guess I have a question. Is there a requirement that after a certain period of time, you have to register your car in Wisconsin?
Wasn't it 30 days?
Yeah, if you live here, yeah.
The other thing I think would maybe be beneficial as a public safety I know there's hardly any newspapers anymore, but on the newspaper or on a website, post that the average speed limit in the city of Hudson is 25 and not 35 like it is in Minnesota.
Okay.
Because I know that those folks over there, I catch myself. I get off on the side street in Hugo and I'm doing 25 and people are blowing their horn because I'm not doing 35, you know? So just a thought.
We will add that to the conversation as well. It's a good idea. Thank you. Any other comments on that issue? If not, I appreciate everybody coming in. Thank you for that. Now we'll go to 4A, winter parking. I think, Fire Chief, you were,
Yeah, we had talked about this last meeting, and then was recommended to make an official issue sheet out of it. You know, I understand it was a record year for snowfall this year, and, you know, we were running out of places to put it, but it's probably going to become the norm, and there was several places in the city, had there been an emergency, there was no way we were going to get a fire truck down the street, let alone an ambulance, because the way the snow can't get pushed off the roads, and then we allow parking on the streets, and then it's either parking on both sides of the street with snow banks that come out, or they're not moving their vehicles to allow the plows to plow, and then there's an issue if the street's not getting plowed. And then the other issue, another big issue, is when all the vehicles in the apartment complexes are forced to get out so they can plow the lots, they all park out on the streets, which is fine, except they park in front of the fire hydrants. And sometimes for days at a time. So you're not going to like this, but I don't agree with narrow streets in the city. When we start to get more snow, narrow streets already caused it to come out. When we build up the snowbanks, now we want to park on these streets. Red Cedar Canyon is a perfect example. If you have a car parked and they're just spaced enough on each side of the street, there is absolutely no way you can get a fire truck through up there. And it's gonna come to bite us one day, I think. I don't know if your crews, John, had said anything, but you couldn't drain an ambulance through most of these streets this winter, should we need to get through. So I don't know.
Heritage Green, you couldn't either.
Heritage Green, yeah.
When both banks were full and people were on the streets, it would have
Yep.
been.
So I don't know if we go to alternate parking by month, by week. We can't allow these cars on both sides of the street once we start plowing the streets. They just keep creeping out. It's gotten to the point I don't think people even care. They just park their car and go home. I think it's become a problem, no different than speeding. They just don't care. They never think they're gonna have a fire truck or an emergency for an ambulance, and it's tough. There's a definite problem in Hudson with winter parking and emergency access.
one thing we need to do to start the conversation is you need to pull some other comparables from other places that you may think is working better than what we're doing. The last time we changed these rules, it was a headache. To be
Yep.
very
Oh,
honest.
I totally get it.
Because you're not going to please anybody, and it's how it is. So we need something to start the conversation with and what you're kind of looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can pull, for example, Green Bay's, Minneapolis's, whoever's, and then we can start that.
Yep.
And then I don't know if you want to start the conversation here. Mike, I don't know if you wanted or Joy in Public Works, but it's going to be a combination of both committees.
Yeah, I know a lot of places don't allow any street parking from November 15th to April 15th.
Yeah, unfortunately, this
I'm
community
just
is not
saying,
built
that's
that
a
way.
lot of places,
Yeah.
for comparables.
Happened here.
But I know, I get it, but
Okay,
In your experience, though, if you found even if it was just one side, so it's not both sides, would that make enough of an impact, you believe, to?
I think in a lot of these neighborhoods, that would be a huge improvement, is not allowing it on both sides. I think we somehow have to find a way, with all these apartment buildings we keep putting up, and, there's 60, 70, 80 cars in these parking lots, and it comes time to plow the lots, these people have to have someplace to go. I completely understand that. But they're parking in front of fire hydrants.
Yeah.
For days at a time, and it's, you know what I mean, it's,
well, those cars should be towed.
Well, the way it works is, right, like with those, ticket it, and then we have to go by the ordinance that says they can't park anywhere for more than 24 hours. So then you tag it, 24 hours you go back and you look, and if it's still there, then you give it another ticket for that violation, and then you can tow it. You can't just.
So we need to
can't just
change the
yank-
ordinance, okay.
You can't just yank
Or is
cars
it state statute?
that are illegally parked.
Yes,
Is it state statute or?
No, that's our ordinance.
okay.
And Drew, have you run into incidents on a fire call where the hydrant's blocked?
we have not, thankfully, but,
John, have you?
You see it driving around.
Okay.
yeah, I'm thankful there's not. You know, in the apartment buildings would be, that's a high life hazard. So if a fire breaks out, you know, it's of the utmost to get water. And if we're already hampered by cars parked in the way, narrow streets, you know, it just compounds as it goes. So, yeah, I'll definitely get comparables and find out. I know it's not popular to do that, but, you know, I think we just have to have the discussion, try to figure out some type of plan moving forward, because,
Yeah, the current system
Okay.
does not work for
So,
anyone.
so we need to update the ordinance. So, I know, I remember from my days growing up in Milwaukee, they had alternate side parking. So if it was an odd day, you parked on the odd side. If it was an even day, you parked on the even side. And that would probably help, because then the plows could come through and
That's what
plow.
we had, but it didn't alleviate anything because you still didn't have any teeth to the ordinance to allow us to get those cars.
So then we
moving.
have to add teeth to the ordinance.
So there's gotta
Okay.
be, that's okay, but there's gotta be teeth to it to allow
Okay.
enforcement to actually tow that
Okay.
vehicle out of there.
Good. Then I want you to make those recommendations. So we've got
So
that.
let's start that way. It doesn't need to be next week's meeting, but the following month to get on it.
Yeah.
And we've got a little time, but the sooner the better.
yep, oh, for sure.
But yeah, I remember when I was in Minneapolis, you know, if there was plowing to be done, they towed your vehicle, if you were parked on
That's
the
the way
street.
that their ordinance is worded. And we've got multiple variations within our one ordinance that
Okay, so we need,
have multiple things you've gotta try and,
okay, so we need to have it
Around.
streamlined.
I will,
Okay,
Go ahead.
I will say that in the area of Heritage Green where I'm at, there is, even in the summer months, you're only allowed to park overnight on one side of the street, and that has even helped with those narrow streets there. So it does work. I mean, we've all adjusted that you have to park on the other side, even if you live on this side of the street.
I'll try to get some information from comparable sized cities.
Yeah, and
probably.
so,
yeah,
once we do that, then we'll get our ordinance together and we'll sit down and look at it all together and we'll start cutting and splicing and deleting and adding and go from there.
yeah.
Okay, perfect.
But it was a pain, moving your car every night, but you know what? It makes sense, because then cars can't be parked for more than 24 hours in one spot.
And I think it, not to speak for Public Works, but I think it helps them too to be able to clear
Clean-
curb to
cleaning
curb
the streets,
eventually.
yep.
You know, they know there's certain days they can get to the curb on those streets.
Yes.
All right. We're clear on that direction, Drew?
Yep, got it.
You need a motion or anything?
I don't think so. We're gonna just bring it back, as long as we remember to bring it back. 4B, formation of the Hudson Fire Department Retired Member Association. Drew?
Yeah, so, like any service industry or anything, you know, we have members that are starting to get to the age now where they are gonna retire out, but they don't wanna lose being on part of the department. And I don't wanna lose them for the fact that they have a wealth of information, right? And I'll use Jim Fry as an example, and he's not on the verge of retiring, but eventually he will, but his innate knowledge of the water system in this city, right, is amazing. And I learn something from him all the time.
Yeah.
We're just trying to come up with a program where these guys can retire off being what I guess I would call a frontline firefighter, but could come back on an auxiliary level, still be part of the department, still be able to mentor people, but can provide food at incident scenes or help outside departments that come into the city on calls, how to get them, you know, route them to calls and stuff like that. I'm just looking for a way to create an association that is approved by the city, that allows them to continue to be in the buildings and, you know, liability-wise and stuff like that. Non-paid positions, strictly a volunteer position. They come and go as they want, be as involved as they want, but I want to be able to retain these people and their knowledge, and then they want to be able to stick around and be part of the department.
So do they have to maintain training?
They wouldn't, because they wouldn't be going to emergency scenes.
Okay.
I mean, they would be going, but not
they'd
in
be in a
a,
peripheral role?
exactly,
Okay.
yep.
And are there some things that they could be paid for so that they would stay on the city payroll? Then that would facilitate, you know, allowing them to have keys and things like that.
I guess they're, you know, we could pay them for, I guess, anything that they come in and do. I guess I kind of view it as no different than when people volunteer to say, pick up trash in the park as part of it or something, or a city, as a volunteer.
Yeah.
We're not paying them, but they're still kind of covered by the city's insurance while they're doing it, because they're working for the city.
Okay.
I don't know if that would work.
Well, that was my next legal question. You're gonna have to send it to Nick and Aaron.
Yep.
Yeah.
And make sure we have the insurance in place for something as.
Yep. Yep, it's, I think there's a need for it. I know, I was talking to the River Falls chief, they're looking at starting something down there also. Because they're valuable assets, they just can't perform at that level anymore, you know, so.
Are they interested in staying if they are not paid for?
Yep,
Okay.
yep, I've talked to a few guys that will probably be coming up here in the next couple of years, and actually one that's already retired out. He misses being around, he
Yeah.
misses trying to help out, he just doesn't want, you know, because we have standards, so many calls they have to meet, you know, so many trainings they have to meet, and after a while, it just, you know, you get to be 65, 70, you're done doing that part of it, you know?
You know, I
It's a little
get,
harder to carry the equipment.
I guess, I would believe, I'm not gonna speak for you guys, but we would support it, but it needs to go through the legal proper channels because of all the insurance and the liability and all that.
Absolutely.
So you may wanna take that up with Aaron and Nick Vivian at the time. And then,
Yep, I just wanted,
do you want a formal support?
yeah, I think so. I think that would be good, and then I can take it to Aaron and Nick and move on from there. And I wanted to bring it to you to just get your thoughts
No, I
on it,
appreciate
and, you
that.
know, so.
Well, and the impact isn't monetary, so I think that makes it more palatable, so to speak.
Right.
With the budget being tight and things that, it's an unpaid position, but they're sharing their knowledge.
Exactly, yep,
It's fabulous.
yep. And I just didn't feel right giving them access to the building once they retire, because they're technically not an employee anymore, you know? And as much as I would love to do that, the minute something happens,
Exactly.
how did this guy get in the building,
Yeah.
you know, so.
Well, I certainly support this. So, do we need a motion?
Yeah.
What would you like the motion to be, to
We
support
move,
this?
we
and-
support the Hudson Retired Member Association
And that-
formation.
And that Drew takes it to the city administrator and the city attorney? Okay, I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 4C, the Hudson Fire Department EMS license. Now you're starting to get a little stickier.
Yeah, and John's here, which is good. So, right now, we have over half our department is medically trained, either EMT, first responder, paramedic, and we do assist the ambulance on several calls as needed. And it actually states with the contract that we have with Lakeview that we are supposed to be going to cardiac arrest and vehicle accidents in certain amounts. So, I think prior to my being here, that was stifled. Like prior administration probably didn't feel as though they needed to be doing that. It is actually in the contract. So we need to be doing it. This is twofold. One, I've talked to John about this. Our guys are licensed, but we're not exactly sure where they're being covered, right, for insurance. And I believe
Oh, that's important.
they fall under Lakeview, but if,
Yeah, ultimately, the liability still lies within the city,
right,
but in the state of Wisconsin, they require that first responder agencies operate under the license of an ambulance provider. So there's a couple of different ways to do it, and I've worked a little bit with Drew on this. So he's taken the path that I think is appropriate, getting licensed through the state, because then you're recognized through the state. There's other opportunities for the department, being able to apply for grant funding that you
Yep.
can't today because
Right.
you don't have that.
that's one of the big components. There was 40 million last year in the state of Wisconsin
Yeah.
get out in grants, and we couldn't tap in any of it because we're not recognized by the state. So, you know, I'm not looking to take on more calls. I'm not looking to start none of that. I just want to make sure that my personnel are licensed with the state, recognized by the state. You know, we're all on the up and up. Still use Lakeview as our medical control. everything the way it is now, we just would be officially recognized, licensed by the state, which then also opens the door for
It would
state
seem to be a
grants.
benefit to both our citizens and you,
Yep.
depending on response times, et cetera,
Yep.
and you being able to get a first responder really
Yes.
on
And
a patient.
that's ultimately the goal is eventually doing more cooperative work with Lakeview on incidents, and then, heaven forbid, they have a longer response time, right? They can say, hey, send the fire department over there, and all people want is somebody to come over and start to help them, right? And we would be happy to do that, and it's, I just think it's a win for everybody to do that, so,
Not a lawyer, but I'm sure they would have questions about how it all breaks out with the contract because of how it's written and
oh, for sure.
staying in certain lanes,
Yep, and we wouldn't do anything higher than EMR level, the first responder level.
It's the way we operate in every city right now. Hudson's kind of an outlier.
We're the only ones that don't have EMSs on our fire.
Well, you're the only city that doesn't respond to medical calls with the ambulance.
So, all right, so if a firefighter responds to a call, what vehicle would they respond in? Would it be their personal vehicle?
So the only people that we allow to respond directly to the scene right now is our officers. If they're not an officer, they have to come to the station and go out on a truck. And that's a liability thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna allow 27 pickup trucks to go to a call, right? They need to come in a fire truck. And that's a control thing, that's a safety thing, that's a liability thing to require them to go on a fire apparatus.
Okay, so why do they have to have a fire truck for a heart attack?
They don't, but I don't have any other vehicle to send them in.
So do we need to have something else that would be more appropriate sized for this?
Yep.
Say wear and tear on the,
Well, I want to caution us, because I don't want to start going down the road of reestablishing an EMS service, and I know that's not the intent.
No.
Absolutely not, no.
But, I think this has got to be talked through legally and insurance-wise and through that contract with your staff, outfit too as well. I don't want to start buying ambulance-looking fire trucks yet, and it's not kosher to the contract.
I'm not even saying buy an ambulance, but, maybe have a responder vehicle, which would be, like a mini SUV or something like that, rather than a.
So in some of the cities, they have a light rescue truck. I don't know how to describe a light rescue. It's a little bit bigger than a pickup truck, but
Right.
it has the capabilities. It's got a pumper on it, and it's a multi-use vehicle. But you're not driving the big truck down.
You're not taking 60,000-pound trucks out every time you need to go on a medical call. You're taking something that's smaller,
Right.
Some places have Suburbans, so.
Yeah.
I think the best thing, I think there's support here. But I
Yeah.
think this should be put back to Finance Committee and let it be hashed out there.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You weren't asking for a truck, you're just asking for approval to apply to the state of Wisconsin and
Right.
become licensed.
Right.
Yes.
So
That's all you're
part of the
asking.
application process is I have to have municipal support before I can apply. So I have to be able to show that this came to a meeting and that it was
Okay.
approved to move
So you
forward.
can't do that with, we don't have to go down the, what
No,
kind of.
and I'm not looking to buy, I would love to have for you to buy me a truck, but I don't need that.
There's a hypothetical.
Yeah. It's just, I have to show that there's support to move forward getting licensed by the state as part of the application process the state requires.
And I don't know the cost, so I would like to see this go to Finance.
Cost of,
Certifying, recertifications, et cetera.
we've been doing it since SCEM's,
Is it in your budget?
yeah. Yep.
Budgets,
So
no.
there's no
It's
additional
just the
cost.
license. There was no license there before with the state, right?
Correct. There's no cost to become state licensed. And we were already providing EMS training to our personnel. We contract through Regions Health.
Yeah.
They're providing all the training.
So they're
Everybody's,
maintaining training.
they're maintaining their licenses, yeah, because you have to maintain so many hours of training per year. And they've maintained it since the disbandment of St. Croix EMS. And this just is a vehicle to get licensed by the state so I can tap into grant money
Yeah.
Okay.
to buy equipment, more or less.
So do you need just the Public Safety Committee, or do you need the full council? to
I think just
approve?
public safety
Okay.
approves it to move forward with state licensing.
I will make the motion to move forward with state licensing.
Second.
I would just caution, I'm gonna support it, but I just think it may need to go look at finance or something legal.
Okay, and I'll talk to Aaron about it and see what he says. Yeah, this just brings, I can manage everything in-house now, right? Like I can, because Regions has been helping us and they're helping us do our renewals and everything, but I think this just streamlines it for our department to be able to just manage it in-house, so.
So the state of Wisconsin, their regulations are kind of weird when it gets to the EMR level, which is emergency medical responders. It's when you get up into the EMT and the paramedic licensing where they have very specific guidelines on the licensing. So all the departments that we work with, St. Joseph's Fire, Somerset Fire, Roberts Fire, they all have the same license that Drew's talking about applying for. So the state says if you're an EMR, we recommend that you get licensed under the state. That way they have a track of who's licensed, who's a licensed responder, and they push it off to the counties. Whoever is providing the 911 center, they ask the counties not to dispatch services that aren't licensed to do that.
So they can't dispatch
policing it, but-
the fire department.
Yeah, the fire department's getting dispatched for other reasons, so.
Joyce, make a motion to go to the common council to get the full council support. That's a minute.
So moved.
Okay, and you agree with
So
that
are we
second?
amending what her original?
I just wanted to go to full council.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Let's go to 4K. I think Mike's here for that, and I want you to get out of here because I see you got a suitcase out there or something? You should have told me. I had asked to have this on the agenda because if you look everywhere in the city,
Okay.
the paint stripe,
Yes.
striping, sidewalk block, or sidewalk
Crosswalks.
crossing, everything is faded or disappeared. So I asked Mike to come too and let's talk this out and find out what we can do to get a better paint or
Right.
epoxy. If we've got to spend a couple more pennies on it, it's a safety issue.
Absolutely,
And
yeah.
not only that, aesthetically too.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
finally got striping at the corner of 12th and Oak, and
How long
it's
that
gone.
last? Yeah, it lasted like 2 months. Yeah, something, I don't know what, we went from a water-based paint that we have been using for several years to an oil-based paint to try to alleviate some of these problems that we're having, because like I was telling Randy, if we're buying the material, paying the staff to be out there, we want it to last more than 2 months, right? So currently, we're using an oil-based paint. The bad news is we already bought our supply for this year, knowing that there's going to be another paint shortage. So what I'm going to do for this year is actually I'm going to talk to staff about adjusting the application rate on the machine itself to maybe put down more paint, which obviously we'll be able to paint less, but the stuff that we do paint should hopefully last longer. The other thing I'm going to do is I reached out to another paint supplier over in the Twin City Metro. They have a solvent-based paint, and they're actually going to drop off some samples, a couple 5-gallon pails for us to use, and we'll do some testing in certain areas and just see which one works better.
Okay.
And then throughout this season, we'll just kind of monitor it. Then when we budget for next year, if that solvent-based paint is working better and is staying, it is like $5 more per 5 gallons. So there is a little cost expense, raised there, but something that we can budget for the following year to use that paint.
For sure.
Yeah. So, well, like I said, I'm very aware of it. I'm very frustrated with it as well, just because we only have $15,000 budgeted for paint. Last year we spent $20,000. And so that with that $15,000 or $20,000 that we spent last year, it probably gets us about a third of the town painted. So we want our paint to last more than a couple months. We want it to last a couple years to get the cycles correct. So yes, we'll continue to work on
I
it.
think
and
if you need more paint,
Yeah.
please come to finance and we will
Okay,
find you the money to get the good.
okay, sounds great.
We have
Yeah.
contingency funds.
Yeah, okay, that
I
sounds good.
truly think it's running into safety.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and it's the thing too that, we used to contract out some of our long line painting. We might need to resort back to that because of all the new striping, all the new developments. We just don't have the horses in the stable to get through the entire city, to be honest with you.
Well, the whole scheme of the striping on the new stuff, that's a whole different topic.
I don't, something that we need to review.
Yes.
But, yeah, I will keep that in mind if we do run out of money to get some more paint and continue to paint as long as we can throughout the summer.
Thank you, but if, you need it, come to
Okay,
finance, please.
will do. And as far as when we're starting to paint, we usually wait for the temperatures to get in that 70-degree range so that it dries quicker, so on and so forth. It just,
We'll see you in August.
no kidding, right? Yeah, right? I hope not that long.
Yeah.
So, but thank you. We'll
Thanks
continue
for
on. Yeah,
coming, I appreciate that, thank you.
no problem.
Okay. Do we need a motion?
Nope.
Okay.
Number 4D, Octagon House Market. Do we know who's doing the Octagon House Market? No?
Here? Nope. Okay.
So just, Jeff, what did they look?
So I don't have the issue sheet right in front of me, but essentially it's every Tuesday from,
June 6th to September 26th.
and then there's
3 to
certain times
6.
of the day.
Every Tuesday, 3 to 6
3
p.m.
to 6 p.m., yep.
So they want to do a little market there. They want to close down one of the streets there for that purpose every Tuesday for the summer.
Is there a reason they couldn't just do that on the grounds?
I don't know. That is all the information I was given.
Okay.
Do you have an issue with it?
No.
It's kind of a farmer's market they're trying to do.
Yep, farmer's market, food truck kind of thing. Well, not maybe,
But now-
food trucks can't go unless they're on their properties.
I was
Right.
gonna say, yeah, how, they can't have, okay, they need to know that.
Farmer's market, vendor
Yeah,
thing.
okay.
Have neighbors been notified of this proposal in case it impacts them?
Yes, but none of them have reached out to me.
Okay.
Let's do
Well,
it for a year trial maybe,
okay.
I think, and we'll go from there.
Okay, I'll make the motion then to approve.
For 1-year trial?
For, yeah,
So it'll come back in a year.
I'll second.
which it would have to come back anyway, wouldn't it?
Yeah, they have to do that every year to.
I don't know if
special
it's in
use.
there or not.
Well, it only,
No, they have to every.
yeah, their application is just for this summer.
Okay. Moved and seconded, is there any other comments?
I guess just to let them know that the food trucks have to be on private property.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. 4E, parking on industrial south of Hanley Road. Is this a Drew thing again?
No.
I don't know where this came from. None of you sent it? This is the hockey arena.
Yeah, I don't,
I don't, that's not me. I was the Hanley up by.
This might have actually came from Mike,
it did.
who came from a concerned constituent up there. So essentially what the problem is a parking problem on both sides of the street, every street. They have a hockey tournament up there. The parking lot is full. Industrial Street is full on both sides. Hanley Road is full on both sides for blocks in each direction. And it's impassable. It's unsafe. People can't even walk to get their mail without getting at risk of getting hit by a car who's looking for a parking spot, right? They're not paying attention to what's in front of them. They're looking for parking spots. So it's a problem. And I don't know,
Well, yeah, on one side,
I mean, limiting parking on one side seems like the only answer there.
yeah.
And I would have thought that the hockey arena, I thought, is supposed to have adequate parking on its own site for all these buildings,
I
but.
think part of the problem this year is a lot of their lots closed because of the construction. They were
But,
using it
yeah, I think
for
this
staging
came-
materials and equipment was sitting there and.
Some of the pictures came though, like this summer.
Yeah, I know they've been
Oh,
having
okay.
a lot of,
A lot of construction's going on there, yeah.
tournaments on top of the construction.
Yep,
They've been doing construction the entire year.
they've started last fall.
Well, okay. That was
Actually,
probably-
last summer they might have started.
But I mean,
Either way.
as long as I've been here for over 20 years, parking up there has been an absolute issue anytime there's a hockey
It's
tournament.
funny you say that, because I thought I jinxed ourselves, because we have not, this is the first issue since I've been in 20 years on here.
And
that
nobody's
we've had a
complained, but
complaint.
I mean, if you go to Fleet Farm on a Saturday during a hockey tournament, you'll notice it.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you can't get it at Fleet Farm, you can't get it anywhere,
Right? Then you just don't need it.
right?
So I don't know what side of the street or what streets you think about limiting parking on, but
Are we knee-jerk reacting quicker because of construction, or we need to take a
well,
pause?
or do you wait until their construction is done? Because they're supposed to have, when I look at the construction plan, they're supposed to have adequate parking for both facilities in their lot once construction's completed.
Or should we change things until construction is complete? When will construction be complete?
Ooh, that's gonna be there quite a ways from being done.
So then, so we need to do something
I
at
would
least
think
until then.
by next winter, you know, by the fall, they'd be done, but right now
Okay.
they're just starting to close it in.
Is this primarily an issue only during a hockey tournament?
Hockey tournament or, playoff hockey games.
Okay, so it's when
right?
that building, but otherwise it's not an issue. I don't know if we could do it, the no parking on one side. They would have they would have to supply their own temporary no parking on that side. I don't know that we want to change a whole parking issue because of a hockey tournament. That's not going to be consistent throughout the year.
They're not every day.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Right.
So, I don't know if they, I know other places, they've had those, like they're in cement, whatever, and they would have to be responsible to put those, I don't know.
I think we should slow down, get a representative from them here, and they can probably explain out the timeline of the construction, and then kind of when their busy tournaments are. I know probably had a big turnout up there at the Spring Fest Expo, so that was a big thing.
It was busy today.
So you want a motion to move this to next week's meeting?
Is that soon enough, do you think, to get somebody here? I don't know.
Can we put it out to June?
Yeah.
Let's do June.
June?
I got a week to try and do the minutes for this thing
Oh,
and
okay.
put all the other issues on there that need to go on there.
Okay. All right.
And Melanie's out for 2 weeks.
And Melanie's
2
out,
weeks?
so I have to learn how to do minutes here like it should.
Not in your job description. All right, so June. I'll make the motion to push this out to June.
Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Make sure we get an invite out to the Hockey Association. That'd be great. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. The next one was the pedestrian crossing. We're going to postpone that one till next week. Number 4H, golf cart UTV ordinance. Have you all had a chance to look at that?
Yes, so what problem does this solve, or how is this a benefit to the city?
I don't know if that's solving a problem, but benefit is there are people that would like to use those vehicles in town, and it's kind of a consistency thing since North Hudson does it, as well as surrounding communities.
Because I don't have a problem with electric golf carts, but I would want that to be specified that it be electric golf carts because of the pollution that's with a regular golf cart. I don't see the need for UTVs on the street. They're not designed for streets. So who's asked to do this, or is this
This
your-
came from neighborhoods, yes,
came
from constituents.
It came from constituents. So why UTVs, though? I mean, because,
People have the side-by-sides. They don't have a golf cart, they have the side-by-side.
And there's more and more trails getting connected
Right.
everywhere for these.
but we don't have any of the trails in the city.
Not yet, you don't know that. What's coming, who knows?
Well, then why do we need to do this now if we don't have the trails?
Why not?
Because I don't.
It's no different than any other.
But UTVs aren't designed for streets.
Some are, some aren't, I don't know. I don't have one.
I don't either, so, I just don't think this is a good idea. I think that, well, first of all, in UTVs, are they gonna be regulated to, they're going to have to be, okay, does this ordinance say that they have to have a regulator on them so that they don't go faster than 25 miles an hour?
No, it's only, they have to be.
Only the golf carts?
They have to be, street certified by the state. So every working apparatus, safety apparatus has to be on there.
Seat belts, brake lights, turn signals, headlights.
But they're not supposed to be driving any faster than 25 miles an hour on the streets. Is that correct? Is that what's in,
No.
I looked at this carefully before, but
I think the ordinance reads that they can only drive on streets that are posted at 25 miles.
at 25 miles an hour.
So obviously then, yeah, if
They
Slim.
can cross the street that goes faster.
they can cross.
But they can't.
When you say UTVs, you're not talking about like four-wheelers and three-wheelers,
No,
right?
it's side by
The side-
side.
the
Just
side by
that,
side,
just a
yeah.
UTV.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was gonna say four-wheelers and such don't have any of those.
Right, so
Safety
they
features.
they don't go on it. That's not included.
Okay.
So,
I just don't see the need for this. And I mean, why do people want to be able to drive these on the street when we have no trails in the area? And I mean, where are they going to and from that they need to drive this?
it's none of our business.
Well, yeah, it is. I mean, is this necessary? I don't think it's necessary. And I don't think that it's really a wise,
They might go from their house to downtown to visit a restaurant. They might go down to the marina,
except that they can't
go to
drive.
another friend's house. That it's other communities have these, and it's rather than hopping in your car.
But now the UTVs, I mean, they're not designed for street use. They're designed for trails. And
I'm not an expert in it,
I'm
Joy,
not either.
so
I've been reading up on it in order, because, okay, when my husband, when I mentioned this, he just went, why? What good is this? They're not designed, in fact, the manufacturers don't even want them on the streets.
Well,
So I'm not going to be voting in favor of this.
okay, well, I'll move, we approve and move it on to full council for approval.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Any big concerns, chief, that you have?
I really don't want these vehicles downtown.
Right, and we can craft it,
I think the updated ordinance
did,
has that.
but we can make it tighter.
They're going from like neighborhoods and things like that.
Yeah, right. I mean, if you want to take your golf cart down to the neighborhood, there was that one gal
Yep.
up in the new development there that the special needs that to
Right.
get her out of the house, right?
Right.
You know, I don't have a problem with that kind of thing, but joyriding through downtown, going to visit your friend's dad's boat in the marina all day and then partaking in the activities and then driving your UTV or golf cart back through downtown to get home, I'm just,
Well, then these are only allowed during daylight hours, is that correct?
I don't believe so.
Because I mean, that was what the original, I didn't have time to read through all of this. I read through the other one thoroughly, and it did
I don't
limit
think
it
anything
to,
else changed other
Okay.
than the limiting it from the prohibition from downtown streets and the size of the slow-moving vehicle placard and things like that, I think are the only, and the addition of UTVs, I think are the only.
okay, but now UTV is not a slow-moving vehicle,
Not by definition, I don't.
because they've got, I mean, they have capabilities of up to 85 miles an hour, is my understanding from
Some of them do,
the
yeah.
Polaris website. So, and then UTVs, they're more polluting than cars, is that correct? I mean, that's my understanding from what I've been
I don't
reading.
know about the emission controls that those have, if any.
So,
I don't know.
okay. I just don't think this is a good idea for all those reasons that, and, I see it opening up a can of worms that we don't want to open.
They did a pretty good job writing the ordinance, so it's pretty comprehensive, and I appreciate it. So if there's no further discussion on it, All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
We'll recommend approval to council. Next item, 4I, Britfest Car Show. This is an annual thing. No issues, Chief Fulham?
No issues. Buck here? Nope, doesn't look like it. No issues. It's been it's been going on for as long as I think I've been here
Yeah.
again, and we've never had any issues. It's a nice event.
Yep.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. 4J, No Mo May. I think Joyce, you requested this at some point through Aaron.
Yes, I did. So, I move to approve. It's.
Same as last year.
In fact, I got an email from a resident saying that she noticed that for the first time in years, she's seen fireflies, and she thinks that the No Mo may have helped with that. So I think it's really, it's good to promote this at no cost to the city.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Number 5, informational items. Seeing none, EMS update.
EMS update. I gave you guys a couple of handouts there. I don't need to go over them in detail. It's more for your information. The response time report I gave you was, you saw it the last time I was here, and there were some errors on it. So I've corrected those errors. I gave you 12 months of data up to March of 2023. There is one typo on there that says July of 2023, which we're not there yet. I know that. But sorry about that. Otherwise, the response times look good. There's no issues that we've had with that. And call volumes are creeping up a little bit. There's been one slow month, but we do see an increase in our volumes over here, which are good. Just some department updates. The last time I was here, I talked about our staffing issues. It started to get to a point where we needed to react to it. And one of the things that we decided to do was we are going to eliminate our 1.2 FTEs that our paramedics work. So we're going to drop them down to a 1.0, real person's hours, 40 hours a week. In doing that, we realize that we have to bring the hourly rate up. So it's going to be a lot costlier for us to do this, because over time, when they do work overtime, you're paying out more overtime. But people just don't want to be working long hours anymore. We're hiring new people, we're making job offers, and then they accept it, and then when they really get down and look at it, they're like, I'm going to go somewhere where I'm only working 40 hours a week. In the last year, we've hired, I think, 6 people that didn't want full-time. They took casual positions. Their reasonings were, I can pick the hours up, but it's on my terms. It's not on what you're telling me I got to work. It's just, it's changed so much in the last year, and I think the change will continue to happen. So we needed to react to that. So in doing this, we had 8 open full-time positions last week when we made that decision, 2 weeks ago, I'm sorry. 2 of those 8 positions are because we're going to add another truck on our overnights. So that's going to require 2 more FTEs there. So in a sense, we were down 6 people from what we should be for our current staffing. We made the decision, we brought it up at our last team meeting, told them what we were going to do. Their pay rate changes on May 1st, but it might take us 6 to 8 months to implement down to the 1.0, because we have to hire the people. So since we've done that 2 weeks ago, we've hired 5 full-time people. So 3 of those came from within that were ones we hired that said, I only want casual. But now that you made it a 40-hour work week, you brought the pay up, sign me up. So it's not as bleak as it was a few months ago, but that's a good thing. So then in dropping to 40 hours, we got to add another 9 full-time people to cover the remainder of those shifts. So that's what we've done. I think we're getting positive feedback from our team. One of our employees that left for another job has already come back full-time. Actually, on Monday, they'll be back full-time, so the grass wasn't as green, so that's a good thing. That's what's happening in our world, so.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, I do, one other thing.
Yep.
I was approached by a cardiac arrest survivor here in Hudson a couple of weeks ago. We met with him here in town. He wanted to meet with us, kind of talk to us about his situation, and during that meeting, he asked if there was any way we could get all the responders together to meet with them. We're doing that tomorrow at the fire station, Hudson Fire Station. And from the sounds of it now, everyone that was involved in that cardiac arrest will be at the event tomorrow. And it's just a meet and greet. The family wants to come and meet everyone. I mean, it's three police officers, 6 people from the fire department. I had 4 medics on there because we've been sending 2 ambulances to cardiac arrests. A lot of people. The dispatch center had 5 people involved in that. So a great thing. He had a great outcome, and they're very, very thankful for what happened. And that really drives home the reason you want the fire department on these calls. So that's it.
Thank you.
For EMS.
Drew?
I handed out the sheet calls for service, not to be shown up by the police chief on
It's not color.
professionalism. So moving forward, I'll be getting these out to you guys. Nothing really out of the ordinary for the month of March. April is a different story, and I'll cover that next week. That snowstorm absolutely pummeled us with calls, but cover that next week. Pancake breakfast was a rousing success. Served over 1,000 people came through the door. The community really enjoyed it. I think it was long overdue hosting it again. Just a lot of positive comments, and it really was good, even considering it snowed 13 inches the day before. It went well, so we were really happy with it. Just a couple of notes. I did have 2 resignations last week. Both were due to medical issues. Both fantastic firefighters. I'd hire them back in a heartbeat. Just they have to step away for a while right now. So a couple openings. Nothing I'm concerned about. The 6 we brought on right now are phenomenal. They're just finishing their certification training. So they're up to speed just about. So they're doing really well. Really happy with everything, so. Other than that, that's pretty much it for March.
Great, thank you. Chief Willem, update.
Okay, so we'll just do an update. I handed out the March calls for service, so 1,615 calls for service. Big note, obviously, is the accidents, cell phone hang-ups, 911 hang-ups, disabled vehicles, disturbances. 70 calls to assist EMS. 187 different extra patrol requests, 46 follow-ups. Miscellaneous, which could be anything, right? 46 of those. 41 public assists, 70 suspicious activity complaints, 40 traffic complaints, 30 theft complaints, 304 traffic stops, 54 welfare checks. It's busy. It's getting busier. It always does this time of the year, right? The snow starts to melt. Everybody gets cabin fever from being locked up all winter long, and people start to kind of come unglued a little bit. Not only that, traffic concerns, right? We're very well aware that April and May start showing up. The snow is melted. People haven't seen dry roads in 6 months, and they drive like it, right? it's an issue every year. We try to step up enforcement all the time. It's just, it's a deal, it's a battle that we're continually fighting. Hopefully with some of this, implementation of a traffic car, that we can kind of nip that in the bud a little bit better. I appreciate the support from you three for the reclassification of the detective sergeant, the detective position into a detective sergeant. That's it's gonna help with that a little bit, just more supervision to be able to make sure everybody is doing what they're supposed to be doing when they're supposed to be doing it. I didn't mention it because nobody had any questions, and I wasn't really gonna, I knew that there was gonna be a long meeting anyway, right? But I polled the state of Wisconsin Chiefs Association, departments that have 30 sworn officers or more, right? 30 to 35 officers. We are the only agency in the state with only 6 supervisors other than the chief. Everybody else has at least 7, most are 8 or 9. So I appreciate the support for that. That will help, especially in the future as we continue to grow, to be able to move people, kind of moving the chess pieces around the board, right? Our latest new hire, our hire to replace Sergeant Schultz, who retired at the end of January. He's going through his psychological and physical right now, so we're hopeful probably the end of May. I think he's got a little bit of loyalty things going on with the University of Oshkosh Police Department, where he's coming from. He wants to stick around there until after graduation to not leave them hanging during their busiest time. So it'll probably be a few weeks, and then he'll start up. I think graduation is the 3rd week of May, so it'll be after that, about a week after that, that he should be joining our ranks and getting started with FTO, and then we'll be back up to full staff on paper. So
Full staff, what strength? How many?
30. There's 30 sworn.
30. And is that, now we're over 15,000 on census, so.
I think we're still okay.
Okay,
Yeah, we're still okay with 30, right?
yeah,
Right now, we're at 29, and then one of them is off on extended FMLA, so, well, work comp, actually, injury. So, we're technically 2 short right now, which isn't a huge deal, but it's felt.
yeah.
It's felt.
Okay.
But yeah, at full staff, at 30 sworn, we're okay we're okay.
Okay,
That's it. That's all the updates I've got. Just mention, I guess, 'tis the season for the community events pretty much every weekend. So there's pretty much every park, every weekend, there's something going on somewhere. Just, it'll be nice to see you guys out and about, because we'll be out there.
great. I want to remind the general public that we have a meeting next Thursday, May 4th at 5 in the council chambers, and we will be addressing traffic taming properties, principles or
Traffic
calming, yeah. And then we will take that up then, so that's an important meeting. Any other items for future meetings?
Hanley and Old Highway 35, which I know is part town, but Hanley's part us, that, and Carmichael and Center Road.
Okay. You got that, Jeff?
What about them?
Carmichael and Center Road, another terrible accident there.
Well, there's
Yeah.
7 a
Just-
week.
Yeah, I'm wondering potentially changing the left turn on a green to only being on an arrow.
Well, I can tell you that Aaron can speak to that.
Okay.
Because when Dean was here, they were working on that, but
Yeah.
they had to get a whole new apparatus for that
Yeah,
Just turn it off.
to get it programmed, so that it's a right, a left turn only,
Only on
and then
the
it goes red, and it's just allowing
because
straight
we
traffic.
passed something in the past to address that very issue
All right.
because of that, but
But
So do you want that for
But
next
some of it-
week?
some of it had to be
When Aaron will
we
be
had
here?
to wait until construction was, there was some
Yes, I
construction
did.
issues that needed.
For next week?
Or
When Aaron is here?
So,
is Aaron going to be here next?
She'll be here next week to present on that traffic
Yeah.
calming policy.
I think, yeah, we just bring it up, and then if that needs further, whatever, go from there.
Carmichael,
It's
Center.
Center Road, wasn't it?
yeah,
Center,
Carmichael
yep.
and Center.
and your other issue was?
And what was the other one?
That's the
35.
one, Old 35 and Hanley Road.
the stop sign is not suitable there, or?
Well, the stop sign from Hanley onto that, it's the speed on, they want a stop sign on, so it's a four-way stop there.
Ooh.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's,
Okay.
yeah, but
Anything?
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right, move to adjourn.
second,
All in favor?
I.
We stand adjourned.